brought to you by Penguin.
Ping by Andrew Brodsky. Read by Sean Patrick Hopkins.
To my wife and muse, Stephanie, your unwavering love and support made this book a reality. 1. The Ping Approach. Once a new technology rolls over you, if you're not part of the steamroller, you're part of the road. Stuart Brand, The Media Lab. Inventing the Future at MIT. You have cancer. Can you imagine words that are harder to hear or deliver? I was 16 years old, sitting in the emergency room with my parents beside me. I had been admitted because of a fever that wouldn't break. The three of us had been slumped on hard plastic chairs in the waiting room for hours, the monotony punctuated by a variety of tests, followed by more waiting. I had been feeling under the weather for a couple of weeks, unable to stay awake long enough to get through the day, losing my appetite, feverish. I thought I had a bad case of the flu. Certainly nothing life-threatening. I was a fit, healthy teenager outside of this momentary blip, and on top of the world, or at least my high school's debate club. My 2-year plan featured applying to college and working up the nerve to ask my crush to prom. It definitely didn't involve hospitals, or chemotherapy, or radiation, or... "I'm sorry to be the bearer of this news," said a grim-faced physician, "but you have cancer." Cancer. Amid all the other medical jargon that followed, that one word stood out. "Impossible," my inner voice insisted. "I'm only 16. Only old people get cancer. I couldn't be that sick. Maybe this is all just a bad dream." As my parents and I sat in a sterile office, dazed and mute, the doctor went on to explain that I had a rare form of leukemia and would need a bone marrow transplant. My prognosis wasn't good. Likely as a coping mechanism, I started to wonder about my doctor. A core part of her job was figuring out how to communicate life-threatening diagnoses to patients. What was it like for her to have to tell a 16-year-old he might die? How does someone even do that? The doctor handed my mother a tissue when she started crying. When my father dropped a pen because his hands were shaking, the doctor retrieved it while gently assuring my parents their reactions were completely normal and that she would do everything in her power to help get us through this difficult time. When we left her office, the doctor gave each of us a hug. As you might have already guessed from the fact that I'm writing this book, thanks to an extraordinary team of doctors, I survived. My interaction with that doctor in the ER was the first of many difficult conversations my parents and I had over the course of my 2-year-long treatment. From that day on, my interest in how people communicate as part of their professions began to take shape. Through my jobs and conversations with professionals in various fields, I became fascinated by the topic of how we adapt our communication practices to an increasingly digital world. The question of how technology alters our communication practices was the basis of my PhD research at Harvard Business School, and now as a professor at the University of Texas at Austin and founder of Ping Group, where I've consulted for and trained employees in organizations from startups to Fortune 100 companies like Dell and Amazon. I have studied more than 100,000 people in their work engaging in different types of communications, from executives attempting to inspire employees through video calls to teachers in Vietnam needing to tell parents that their child failed a course via email. Beyond my research expertise, I also have a unique relationship with virtual communication. Because of a lifelong immune deficiency resulting from my cancer treatment, I've often found myself only able to interact with others from a distance. As a result, I understand the good and bad of virtual communication in a very personal way, which is why I've made this topic my life's work. Before we go any further, I need to define virtual communication. Simply put, it's any communication that occurs via electronic means, which includes video, for example, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, and WebEx, audio.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?